She dropped the coffee mug. It shattered across the floor. Her hands shook. Her eyes didn't blink. Amy stood frozen, because standing in front of her after all these years was Ty Borden, the man she thought she had buried, the father of her child. Her heart was pounding, and so was ours. What does this mean? How can he be back? And more importantly, is this real? Ty's return in Season 19, Episode 1, is the most emotional twist Heartland has ever shown. For years, fans believed Ty was gone forever. We saw him collapse in Season 14 after being shot. We saw Amy fall apart. We watched the funeral. There were tears, there was heartbreak, and there was silence. Heartland moved forward without him. Amy raised Lyndy alone. Life on the ranch changed. But now, everything is different. It all begins with a quiet morning at the ranch. Amy is in the kitchen. Jack is fixing something outside. Lyndy is chasing the barn cat. Everything feels normal. Until a car pulls up. A man steps out. Slowly, cautiously. He walks toward the door. Amy hears the footsteps. She turns around. And then, she sees him. Ty, alive, right there. The camera focuses on Amy's face. Her jaw drops. Her knees almost give out. For a moment, she doesn't move. She doesn't speak. Her brain is racing. It doesn't make sense. But her heart knows it's him. He hasn't said a word yet, but the way he looks at her, the way he gently smiles, it's all too real. Ty says one line, just one. "Amy, I'm home." That's when the floodgates open. Amy takes a shaky step forward. She whispers his name like it's a prayer. Her eyes are full of tears. Jack walks in behind her. He freezes too. You can feel the weight in the room. Ty looks thinner, older, but very much alive. This is no ghost, no dream. Ty Borden is back, and nothing will ever be the same. She didn't run into his arms, not right away. Amy just stood there staring like her world had stopped spinning. Her hands were shaking. Her breath caught in her chest. It wasn't just shock, it was fear. Because after years of healing, years of learning how to live without Ty, suddenly, he was standing right in front of her, alive, and everything she thought she knew was broken again. Amy's voice finally returned, but it cracked with pain. "You're not real," she whispered. Her heart wanted to believe, but her mind screamed no. She had mourned him. She had buried him. Every scar she carried was because of the day he died. So how could he be here? How could he smile like nothing had changed? She stepped closer, tears running down her face. She reached out, but her hand trembled like she was touching a memory that might disappear. Ty didn't say much. He didn't need to. His eyes were full of the same ache, the ache of time lost, of words never said, of love held in silence. Amy pressed her hand to his chest, felt his heartbeat. That's when she finally broke. She fell into his arms, and for the first time in years, she let go. She sobbed into his chest, clinging to him like she was afraid he'd vanish. Every moment of pain poured out in those tears, every lonely night, every birthday without him, every bedtime story Lyndy never got to hear from her father. Outside, Jack stood in the doorway. His hands were clenched, his eyes wet. He had always been strong, for Amy, for Lyndy, for the ranch. But now, he saw the impossible. He saw the boy he once guided, the man he once called family. Back from the dead. Jack didn't move. He couldn't. Not until Ty looked up and said softly, "I'm sorry, Jack. I never wanted to leave. Amy." Wasn't ready for questions. Not yet. She just needed to feel that he was real. And in that moment, with her head resting on Ty's shoulder, it finally hit her. He really came back. But why did he leave in the first place? And where had he been all these years? That answer was coming next. But first, Amy had to breathe again. Jack wasn't the type to cry, but his voice shook as he asked the question everyone was thinking. "Where were you, Ty?" And Ty, still holding Amy close, finally stepped back. and looked around. His eyes were heavy, like he had carried a secret too long. The truth was about to be revealed, and it would change everything. Ty didn't fake his death. He didn't choose to leave. The day he was shot back in season 14, there was more to the story than anyone knew. While doctors worked to save his life, 2 government agents showed up. They told him something shocking, that the attack wasn't random. He had seen something dangerous. Illegal activities linked to a vet clinic he had once helped. Shut down. A powerful group wanted him dead, and now Amy and Lyndy were targets too. There was no time. No goodbyes. The agents made a choice: remove him, erase him, and protect the ones he loved. Ty was rushed away, told to stay silent. For everyone's safety, the world had to believe he had died. Even Amy. He fought against it, begged to at least leave a message. But every word he wanted to say could have put Amy and Lyndy in danger. So he stayed away, watched from the shadows. Letters he wrote were never sent. Birthdays passed, holidays came and went. But he never stopped watching. And he never stopped loving. While Amy rebuilt her life, Ty lived in hiding, moving from town to town, under different names. He worked with animals in secret. He kept a photo of Amy and Lyndy with him every day. That photo kept him going. Then, just weeks ago, the group that wanted him dead was caught. The threat was over. Ty was finally free. And the first thing he did was come home. Amy stood there silent, listening to every word. Her hands were over her mouth, her eyes wide. It all made sense now. The empty goodbye. The strange way the doctors handled his death. The feeling she had deep down that something wasn't right. She had thought she was crazy. But her heart had always whispered, maybe he's not really gone. Now the impossible was real. Ty was back, not as a ghost, not in a dream, but with a truth heavier than death itself. And even though it hurt, Amy knew. He did it to protect them, and that meant more than words could say. The sun was setting behind the hills, casting golden light across the ranch. Ty stood near the paddock, quietly watching Lyndy feed her pony. She didn't speak much, but her eyes kept glancing back at him, curious, hopeful. She was young when he left, too young to understand death, too young to question why her father was gone. But somehow, deep in her heart, she always remembered his face. And now, she didn't need to remember. He was here. Amy walked out with 2 mugs in her hands. She passed one to Ty and sat beside him. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was healing. After everything, grief, confusion, anger, there was still love. Worn, scarred, but strong. Amy looked at him and said softly, "You missed her first steps, her first words, her first ride." Ty's eyes watered. "I know, and I'll never get those back. But if you let me, I'll be there for everything else." Inside the house, Jack and Tim sat across the kitchen table, both quiet, both stubborn. Tim finally broke the silence. "You should have told us." Jack shook his head. "He couldn't. You heard him." Tim sighed, rubbing his hands over his face. "It's going to take time. I don't know how to forgive him yet." Jack replied, "Then start by listening." The next morning, something small, something powerful happened. Ty saddled up Spartan, Amy's horse. Amy didn't stop him. She joined him. They rode together through the fields just like they did years ago. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't like before. But it felt like the start of something real. Not a return to the past, but a new chapter. Lou brought Lyndy out to the fence, and the little girl waved. "Daddy," she called. Ty turned, smiled, and waved back, his heart full. It was the first time she had said it out loud since he returned. The word hit him harder than any goodbye ever had. It was real. He was home. Later, the family gathered for dinner. No empty chairs, no silence hanging over the table. There were questions still, wounds that needed time, but laughter returned, and so did peace. The kind only family can bring. As night fell, Amy and Ty stood under the stars. He held her hand and said, I don't deserve a second chance. Amy leaned into him and replied, maybe not, but we both need one. And just like that, the story of Heartland didn't restart. It evolved. A tale of loss became a story of reunion. A broken family found its missing piece, and in the stillness of the ranch, you could feel it, a new sunrise waiting to rise. The next few days at Heartland felt like walking through a dream, one that could vanish with a blink. Ty helped around the ranch like he never left. He fixed fences with Jack, helped Lyndy brush the horses, shared quiet glances with Amy. But beneath the smiles and warm meals, there were still questions, wounds, doubts. Lou pulled Amy aside one afternoon. Her face was kind, but serious. You trust him? Amy hesitated. I want to, I do, but my heart doesn't know how to be okay yet. Lou nodded. Then take it slow. Just because he came back doesn't mean it all fits right. Away. Meanwhile, Tim kept watching Ty like he was expecting him to disappear again. Every time Ty walked out of the room, Tim's eyes followed. Eventually, he couldn't hold it in. You should have fought harder to come back sooner, he said, standing in the barn doorway. Ty turned, calm but firm. If I came back too, soon Amy and Lyndy would have been in danger. I chose pain to protect them. Tim didn't respond, but his fists slowly unclenched. The fight was fading, replaced by understanding. Jack, however, handled it differently. That evening, he walked Ty back to the old tack room. It hadn't changed much since Ty had lived there. Jack opened the door, then handed Ty an old photo, one of the family, taken just weeks before Ty was shot. This was the last day we were all together, Jack said. Now you're back, but you'll have to earn your place again. Ty nodded with respect. I will, I promise. The next morning brought a powerful moment. Lyndy fell while learning to mount her pony. Before Amy could run over, Ty had already reached her. He didn't panic. He crouched beside her, checked her leg, then said, You're strong, just like your mom. Lyndy sniffled, then gave a small nod. Okay, Daddy. Amy watched from afar, her heart cracking open, piece by piece. As the week continued, the family didn't pretend things were perfect, but they chose to try. They chose to let love guide them instead of pain, and in the warmth of that choice, something special began to grow. Because sometimes family doesn't heal in an instant. It heals in moments, in shared chores, long talks, quiet forgiveness. Ty's return didn't erase the past, but it gave the future a chance, and in Heartland, that chance was more than enough to begin again. It wasn't just the family who had to adjust. Word about Ty's return spread quickly through Hudson like wildfire. The small-town buzz was loud, too loud for comfort. Some were stunned, others angry. Many didn't understand how someone thought to be dead could just walk back into town. They saw Amy at Maggie's cafe and whispered behind their menus. They asked Tim questions at the feed store. Lou had to answer emails from the press asking if the rumors were true. For Amy, it felt like opening a healed wound again, having to explain what even she hadn't fully processed. She stood beside Ty in town, hand in his, and faced the looks, the questions, the stares. He kept his head down at first, unsure if he was welcome anymore. But Amy squeezed his hand. We'll face it together, she said softly. Mallory was one of the first friends to visit the ranch. She hugged Ty tightly, laughing through tears. You look like a ghost, but warmer, she joked. Then her tone turned serious. I don't care what anyone says. If you're back, that's all that matters. That visit gave Amy hope. Hope that not everyone would judge, that some people would just understand. But there were others who weren't ready. Some believed Ty had faked everything. Others thought the story was too strange to be true. A few townsfolk even asked Jack if Heartland should still be part of the rodeo sponsorships, whispering about bad publicity. Jack's answer was simple and firm. If protecting your family is wrong, then I don't want to be right. Ty knew rebuilding trust with the community would take time, so he started small. He returned to the local animal shelter as a volunteer, fixing stalls, and helping scared dogs. Kids began waving at him again. An old man at the feed store shook his hand. Slowly, the town's cold edge began to soften. Then came a big moment. Amy invited Ty to speak at the vet school where they once lectured. She stood with him as he told students about surviving fear, choosing love, and protecting what matters most. By the time he finished, the room was silent, then full of applause. Not just for the story, but for the man who lived it. Ty didn't need everyone to forgive. He just needed the people he loved, and the community he once called home, to see that he never truly left them. He had always carried Heartland in his heart, and now, step by step, he was reclaiming his place in it. It was early morning. The sky was painted in soft orange, the grass still wet with dew. Amy stood at the fence with Lyndy in her arms, both watching Ty saddle up Spartan. Jack was nearby, coffee in hand, his eyes calm for the first time in a long while. There was no more tension, no more heavy silence. The storm had passed, and in its place, something new had started to grow: hope. Ty rode toward them slowly, the same way he used to. As he approached, Lyndy smiled and whispered, "Daddy's coming." Amy kissed her cheek and nodded. "Yes, baby, he's staying." It didn't happen overnight. Trust, peace, and routine came back in small moments. A shared laugh at dinner, a quiet walk under the stars, Ty fixing a broken gate without being asked, Amy brushing Spartan while Ty taught Lyndy how to braid a horse's mane. These were not grand scenes of forgiveness. They were ordinary, real, and that made them even more special. Lou and Tim still had their moments of doubt, but they saw something honest in Ty's eyes. He hadn't come back to take his old life for granted. He came back to earn it. And day by day, he was doing just that. Jack, the quiet strength of the family, finally said the words Ty had longed to hear. "You're still one of us. You always were." With those few words, it was as if the last wall had fallen. Heartland was whole. Again, not the same, but stronger. The pain didn't vanish, but it no longer controlled their story. Instead, love took the lead, resilience followed, and peace, after so long, returned to the ranch. The final scene of the episode was simple but powerful. The whole family stood by the fireplace, Lyndy on Ty's shoulders, Amy's hand in his. The camera pulled back slowly, showing the family, together, finally together, under one roof. And just before the credits rolled, Amy whispered a quiet line, meant for Ty, but also for every fan who waited years for this moment. "We thought we lost you, but maybe we just had to wait until you found your way home." For more emotional updates and behind-the-scenes stories, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Next Door, or a slightly different version. Stay tuned for more exciting Heartland updates. Subscribe now to our channel Next Door for all the latest.